This episode of Telling Our Stories is sponsored by Wix Nola, Candle and Fragrance Company, representing New Orleans with every scent, from uptown to downtown. We are formulating scents that represent the spirit of New Orleans. Visit us today, www.shopwixnola.com. Use promo code CTWS20 for 20% off your order. All right, so I want to thank you guys for coming out today. I wanted this conversation to be an opportunity for us to bridge the gap. Like, I think that there's a disparity between the lesbian community and the gay community. And of course, I'm assuming, because I don't know how you identify, whether you identify as bisexual, trans, whatever, but we'll go through all of that. But I wanted this conversation to bridge communities, whether it's the lesbian and gay community, the trans and gay community, trans and lesbian community, whatever it is, because I believe that there's a disparity. And when I first moved to Atlanta, there was more of a sense of community from my perspective. We partied the same, we went to the same clubs, the same parties. A lot of times they were the same promoters. But then over time, there became a divide. I remember like the Other Side in particular was one of those places where it was on Wednesday nights and guys and girls partied at the same place. I don't really know of any places now where it's like that, but I noticed that there were different promoters, different nights for the ladies, different nights for the guys. And even when we talk about pride, like actual gay pride, the nights are separate, right? And so I want that to be a part of what we talk about. But ultimately, I want this conversation to be for the parents of queer children or people, if you will, that are struggling to accept their children or understand their children for whatever reason. Maybe they've put their children out because of religion, because of family, because of their own shame or homophobia, whatever it is. But I also want this conversation to be for young queer people who do not have an example of queer people in their life. And so I want to start with introductions. My name is Craig. I identify as gay, and then we can just go around the room.
Hi everyone, my name is Sine, and I identify as bisexual.
I'm Randy, and I identify as gay.
My name is Meech, and I identify as gay as well.
My name is Keon, and I identify as gay.
My name is Elliot, I identify as gay.
I'm Sunshine, I identify as lesbian.
I'm Nikki, I identify as lesbian.
I'm Sam, I identify as bisexual.
I'm Ryan, I identify as gay.
Wendell, I identify as Mary.
That part.
Period.
Yes.
Period with the
I'm
T.
Cheryl, I identify as lesbian.
I'm Derek, I identify as gay.
I'm like Wendell, I identify. My name is Monica, and I identify as engaged.
Oh.
All right, congratulations.
Congratulations. Okay, so as I was saying before, I want this conversation to be an opportunity for those coming behind us, the generations coming behind us, to navigate around some of the pitfalls, if you will, that maybe some of us have kind of fallen in and had to dig our way out. I believe that the lessons that we experience aren't just for us, they're for the people that we choose to share those things with. So I just want to jump right into it, right? How have you been discriminated by anybody in the black community, like straight folks? And I'm assuming everybody here is black.
I'm Indonesian.
With some other stuff.
Okay. So have you ever felt like you've been discriminated against by the black community as a whole?
Indirectly, not necessarily directly.
There has been some type of discrimination when they find out you're not the typical, meaning you don't fit into a mold, you're not the expected woman or man with their counterpart, and they find out, oh, that person is funny, or they do things a little differently. And back in the day, it was funny. Oh, they're special. Right. They didn't use the terms gay and lesbian, bisexual. So we all have. We just probably haven't recognized it. And there's been some people who've been very vocal. They don't like gay people.
Yeah. Right.
For
And the
whatever
reason I'm
reason.
asking that is because right now, in this political climate, we see a lot of unarmed black people getting shot and killed, right? And oftentimes, if it's a straight black person that's being shot or killed, we're expected, the entire black community is expected to show up on the front line. But when a black, queer person, trans, gay, whatever, is killed or whatever, the black community as a whole isn't necessarily showing up.
That's right.
Right.
What do you think about that?
I agree. There's been times I felt pushed out of conversations because I was gay. Because like, oh, you know, the police don't see you as a threat because you're gay, or you might not be as aggressive or looking as thuggish as most of us. So you can't be getting harassed by the police or pulled over because you're black, or addressed differently because you're black, because you're gay. They're like, oh, you get a pass. I'm like, no, I get the same treatment as you guys do. So sometimes I do feel like pushed out of conversations because I'm black and gay at the same time.
I think within the gay and lesbian community, we discriminate even within our own community.
Come on, somebody.
And I know that I personally have my own biases, and I'm sure we will get to that.
Go ahead. No, expound on it. We can circle back, but go ahead.
I think that, you know, within our community, there are generations. You know, and based on those generations, you know, you have the older generations that you may hear say, that's just too much. You know, you're doing too much. It doesn't take all that. It doesn't require all that. We don't want to see all of that. And I think it was recently, there is a black gay comedian, I forget his name.
Samson?
That may be his name.
No, Carmichael.
You know,
Carmichael.
where he took a lot of heat.
Yes.
You know, because
Gerard.
he took a lot of heat. I don't think it's Gerard Carmichael, but there's another guy, I think it's Samson, I believe. But he took a lot of heat because he was saying that, I don't know, he had bumped into someone and he was like, you know, excuse me, sir. You know, and the lady was like, I'm a lady. And so he went on to say, at least make an attempt to dress the part or identify as the part. So I think that there is discrimination even within our own community.
And when you say, you'll hear older people say, you're doing too much, you mean like guys who may wear dresses and heels, or in that respect?
Right, exactly, exactly.
Monica, when you say older, expound on that.
I was going to say that too. Because you know, some in the gay community, I don't know about the female side, but in the male side, older is anything over 30.
Exactly.
Oh, no.
Oh, wow.
I'm talking about, you know.
I think that's the same.
I'm talking about within our community, people who, you know, probably are 60s, you know, 1950s, 1960s
You're
babies
talking about
or something
Gen
like
X
that.
versus millennials.
Yeah,
versus-
exactly.
There's a generation difference.
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, because I know, like, our job now, at the end of our tag and your signature and your email, they want you to put how you identify.
Exactly.
And I know, I'm sorry, I may be gay, but I don't understand the difference in them. So with that in mind, I was like, I don't know. But they want, but at the same time, at my last job, I got hired because I was a triple minority and they needed it for grant. I'm black, lesbian.
They needed it for what? You said grant?
Right, because the thing is, I work at an all-white department.
Okay.
And I was black, gay, and a woman. And I went in, I didn't care if they knew I was gay. I'm like, oh well. But I know for sure they hired me because I checked all the boxes for them.
Right.
But like I said, the company I'm at now, it's like they want you to put a title at the end of your signature or nothing. I'm like, well, I don't quite understand them.
Right.
So, and that's funny being gay that you don't. It's like, you gay, you understand them. I was like,
Right.
And it's kind of hard for them to explain it to you because I don't know if it's relevant based upon the person, which one they decide if you are he, she, they, the, them.
Right.
So, yeah.
When it comes to like identifying and knowledge and generations, like things are happening really quickly.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm not studying. I'm not sitting around keeping up with every moving part, but I'm expected to know every part.
Right.
And so, and you know, because I'm gay, I get clumped in with LGBTQ, you know,
all of that.
We
Crooked
have
letter,
to
crooked letter,
understand. They expect us to know it all.
Because you gay, that you should know everything.
Yeah,
In the
but
same-
we expect each other to know it.
I don't know why he does
And we're hard on each other when we don't.
That's
You're right,
We don't
right.
know it. But it's kind of like, as black people, sometimes white people expect us to know everything about every type of black person.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's
true.
not ignorance. It's just I got other things going on in my life. I got a career. I got family. I got neighbors. I'm involved in the community.
You got a husband.
I got a husband. I got like it's a lot going on.
Right.
I don't have time to. I make time when it's if there's something that's relevant that I think I need to know. At some point I'll get there, but there's no. It feels like there's no room for error today.
Exactly. And then you got crime. Anybody else that want to add on?
I'm a part of the community that might be a little too old for all the extra. It's too much for me to personally keep up with. Can we go back to just being gay or straight?
But how do you
straight,
define
bi?
that?
Can we break it down just a little bit?
I think we're doing too much breaking down, and now we're becoming divided within that. Because
Yeah, there's subcultures within the subculture.
Yes.
and
Yeah.
that's a problem.
Yeah.
For
I
me.
think that's the
Doesn't everybody deserve visibility?
right.
What were you gonna say?
Exactly.
He said, doesn't everybody deserve visibility?
Exactly.
I agree. I mean, I admire a lot of the movement and the and being able to not just be placed in a box. I do think it is challenging for some. Like, I'm 58, so I do think that. Thank you. I think that there are certain things that I'm not as accustomed to, but I do think there's room for flexibility and room to grow and to understand. I think that when we start knocking down all of those barriers, we begin to respect each other even that much more.
Coming up next on Telling Our Stories.
You ain't gonna call me a bulldagger. We're gonna fight.
That
You
part.
call me a lesbian. I'm like, okay.
Well, Derek, you just touched on something, and the word that you said was box. And I get that because I think, once again, within our community, people like to put us in a box.
Right.
And I'll use myself as an example. So you may have, sometimes people feel like, oh, you're more mass-leaning and you shouldn't wear a dress, you shouldn't have on makeup, you shouldn't wear a lipstick. But I'm a woman and I love being a woman. I identify as a woman, and so if I see a dress that I like, I want to be able to put it on without being criticized. So again, it goes back to what you said, we sometimes put people within our own community in a box.
That kind of goes to
Within
like
your own
the brat
subculture.
and her wife are now pregnant, and the brat is carrying the baby, and a lot of people on social media were like, well, why is she carrying the baby? She's the more masculine.
She's the man.
Right.
She's actually very fit.
But most of the
people-
masculine women have more babies than the.
You said most. Say that again.
Most masculine women tend to have more babies than the femme women. That I personally know.
Do you? Why do you think?
Yeah, I just
you said
learned
me
that.
too. Why do you think that is?
Because I think they want to be, they're really bisexual. I mean, in the sense of not like they said they with a partner and they're deciding to have a baby, but I feel like a lot of masculine women do more sneaky stuff because they may be more bisexual than I'm actually a lesbian. You know what I mean? Because those be the ones, right? So they can't say exactly. They can't say that I like both. So they be sneaking. Listen, this been going on forever. They sneak with the men.
But that goes to with a man. A man who wants to wear dresses, they don't expect for him, like Caitlyn Jenner, to have children because he's too feminine. So it goes both ways, even in the male side. If you see a feminine man with a child, they'll say, that can't be your child, you must have adopted him. Because there's no way you had sex with a woman. That's not true.
But what's so interesting about Caitlyn Jenner? He doesn't identify as gay.
Just for the purpose of this, she. Go ahead.
Okay, she does not. Right. Does not identify as gay. She still is attracted to women and date with women. Yeah.
Well, now isn't she dating a man, an African?
Oh, I don't know.
What were you going to say?
So I wanted to touch on your response. I think it's also not just being sneaky, but not being able to accept themselves. A lot of times there's a pressure of, well, my family says I need to do this, I need to be a family, I need to have kids. Look at a Whitney Houston story. Allegedly, she had another life where she truly was a lesbian, but she made that decision for entertainment for her family, and yet that is really where her heart lied. And I feel like a lot of people are in that space, including myself. Okay, I'm going to identify as both because I want to make sure that they're happy, but I also want to be happy. And then in terms of the crime piece and why that's so important, I think I'm the youngest in this room. So for me, like, I've had
You don't get to say
No. Because I was actually going to say it for her. How old are you? She's 25. And I wanted like a variety. Like I wanted all of these different
ages.
ages.
And it's not in a bad way. It's just like this is a space that I don't get to be in often. I get to learn a lot. Basically, like in terms of how Black community does not come to the forefront in the immediate. I think it's also about how LGBTQ has become trendy as well. And so people only show up when
gay for the stage.
When it's for the aesthetic. And so for someone like me who's so young and is known for about 10 years that they do identify as bisexual, you fall into this place of like people not believing if you're an aesthetic or real. We have a Little Nas X, for example, where it's just like this confusion, and then it turns into people who are really actually identifying not even being able to be visible.
Okay. Somebody else wanted to touch on that?
I do want to circle back to the slip of saying he versus she. Perfection feels like the narrative is being pushed. There's no room for mistakes. And I'm like, we went a lot of years calling him he.
Exactly.
And then there's this expectation that we're just going to flip tomorrow and call him she. I gave my family grace. I'm like, it took me a lot of years to get here.
That's right.
And so I don't expect them to understand. I'm still figuring it out. So I gave them a lot of grace. And I'm still giving grace. And so there just didn't feel like there's a lot of room today for mistakes and learning, and you feel like you're being vilified if you get it wrong.
Right. It's interesting that you say that.
That's the problem I have. I don't think it's wrong when you use certain words, and I am going to be classic. I'm going to say you are what you answer to. So if somebody calls you a tramp, or calls you these bad words that people are saying, I'm like, everybody wants to say, oh, you're wrong, you can't say that. Why not?
But
you
it's
walk around and say nigga all day long, and it's supposed to be pop culture.
During this time now, I think everybody's so sensitive, hypersensitive to those types of things. It's like you can't say those words without it being an issue because of that.
Right, because you ain't gonna call me a bulldagger. We're gonna fight.
That
you
part.
call me a lesbian, I'm like, okay.
Right.
To me, the issue, like, I think as sensitive as the world is, as disrespectful as the world is.
I agree.
Right.
They'll put that
The
extra
emphasis on it.
like, I was talking to him. They'll go, they do that extra to let you know they're trying to disrespect you. So that's why there's so many sensitive people, because there's so many disrespectful people.
Right.
Like if you just scroll down social media, you'll see people capitalize he when they're talking about a gay person or they're talking about a trans.
Right.
Talk about Zaya Wade. They'll go out their way to say Dwayne's son. Zaya.
Yeah.
They'll say Zaya, which is her name, but they'll put the he in front of it.
Right.
So like there's an intent to be disrespectful.
Right.
So when we say people are sensitive, that's because they're in defense mode because there's so much disrespect.
Right. Were you gonna make a comment to something Wendell said?
No, I think I was just addressing when he said there is no way to be like you give people grace and it's time to change, but those people are purposely going out of their way at the same time.
But I
even
think
family,
right?
Because their own perception of who they want you to be for them, they want to live through you.
But even in the instances where it's family and their intention is not to be disrespectful, I think sometimes we don't give them grace. I think sometimes, to your point, I was 22 when I started acting on the feelings, right? I've always said it took me 22 years to get to the point where I started to act on the feelings. And so I can't expect my mother or family or whatever to turn around in 2 weeks. I have to give them the grace and the latitude to, you know what I mean, to embrace it and understand it too.
Yeah, you know, you started with the question of have we been discriminated against with in our families, and I've had 2 moments in my life, pivotal moments where my family has been. It's shown up, and once was when I got married, and there was a clear line, and those who were not okay, even had been to my house for many years, feet under my table, and were okay, but they were clear they weren't coming, and they let me know they weren't coming and why. And when they made that distinction, so in terms of like disrespect, the ones who came at me disrespectful, I don't talk to them.
Right. So they were okay.
And they had nothing.
So they were okay with the relationship.
Yeah.
But then once you got married, it was like, oh no, we not. That's where we draw the line.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was clear, and they were clear, and they were disrespectful in how they came at me. And so I was just like, this is what we're not going to do.
Right.
Because at the point we got married, we had been together 10 years. And I was just like, I wasn't asking your opinion
or approval.
Yeah.
I loved you enough to be a part of this moment.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're coming at me disrespectful, bye.
Yeah.
And I haven't talked to them since.
Right.
And so that, and my comments about like people showing up or there not being room for imperfection, it has nothing to do with, I was more speaking to those people I know and love, and I know their intentions, not so much. When it comes to disrespectful, you're out.
Right.
The other moment has been, I'm over my family reunion. I've been doing my family reunions for 20 years. And there was a moment where my family was like, when I first started, they were like, there was a group who were like, we don't want no homosexual over the reunion. And guess what?
They can't get done right.
Right. Because who's gonna do it?
Look, and guess what?
What is Craig? A clipboard and a.
Listen. You don't want a gay with a clipboard and a headset.
That part.
That's right.
And guess what the homosexual said?
Right.
Here, y'all can have it.
Y'all go ahead and do it then.
Here it is.
Watch
Here
it
it
never
is.
happen.
Right.
And we didn't have it for another, 5-6 years. And then they came running back. Begging me. It was almost like I couldn't go to a funeral. Like, please do it.
Right.
Please. The same one.
The weight of it. They on.
Right.
Yeah, and so, but I also understood that when all the timing of it happened, they didn't quite understand what it was. They didn't know it. And I take some responsibility in that because I hadn't done a good job of showing up fully, explaining what it was, because I was still learning.
Right.
You know, even when I made the decision. Because when it comes to what I want to be called, I got to tell you that.
No. I understand. But what
You know,
is
I mean,
exciting?
yeah, like there were people who would call Stephen, even today, their neighbors and family members who will say your roommate. I'm like, we ain't roommates, that's my husband.
But you know what's interesting though? A lot of us will allow family to say stuff like that. Like my sister was like, "Oh, your friend." No, that ain't my friend. That's my partner.
Yeah. So sometimes people don't know the term, and sometimes they may be disrespectful. But and if they are, I call it out. Like,
yeah,
that's my husband, and call him that.
Right.
You know, but so there's this. There has, from my experience, I've had to allow room for my family to grow. Today, there's been a clear line, and everybody's, kind of put their stake in the sand, and I know where everybody stand. They know where I stand, and we respect those boundaries, and we're good for the most part. But I also have people in my life, family members, who are really close, I don't have in my life anymore because they made they were disrespectful, and that's what you're not gonna do, and I was okay with that. Do I hurt? Do I miss them? I do. There are moments I see them in pictures, and I'm like, one cousin was my best friend growing up. Yeah. And I see her in pictures, and I get sad because she's not in my life anymore. But she made the decision. I didn't.
Right. Next time on Telling Our Stories.
in the gay community when I'm at a white club with white people, and then when I'm at a black-owned club and there's white people, they do act different.
Men, it's more sexual thing.
Oh no, you need to go be a hoe and then come back. You need to sow your oats. I'm not about to be the first. I was involved briefly with a married man who believed he had the courage to leave his wife to be with me and to live his truth. This isn't the typical story of a married man promising to leave his wife for a secret lover. Rather, this is a story in part about a gay man who knew he was gay before he got married, but chose to marry a woman because he didn't know how to break free. Rocky and I met on a gay social media site 3 months after I returned to the East Coast to live, and just 11 months after he was married. At the time we met, he was living and working in Dubai as a contractor for the government on a military base, while his wife was stationed in Tallahassee, Florida, where they had a home. In one of the first messages he sent me, Rocky shared that he was married, but that he had regrets. He explained that he had come out to his mother and siblings when he was 18 years old. He said that. To listen to more of One Thing for Certain, Two Things for Sure, a memoir continued, visit audible.com. This episode of Telling Our Stories is sponsored by SayItInACard.com. If you feel it, we say it in a card. Visit us today, www.sayItInACard.com. SayItInACard.com is an online greeting card company that delivers right to your front door. Visit our website, www.sayItInACard.com. You can read the cards, order the cards, and we ship them directly to you. If you feel it, we say it in a card. We have breakup cards, troubled relationship cards, troubled friendship cards, and of course, all of the traditional cards as well, from birthday to Mother's Day. So again, visit us at www.sayItInACard.com. Free shipping for a limited time. Previously on Telling Our Stories.
I would rather lose a woman to a woman than I would rather lose a woman to a man.
It's too much for me to personally keep up with. Can we go back to just being gay or straight?
One cousin was my best friend growing up.
Yeah.
And I see her in pictures and I get sad because she's not in my life anymore. But she made the decision, I did.
So I just want to jump right into it. Are there similarities between racism that black folks often feel from white folks and homophobia that black queer people sometimes feel from some black people?
I think it hurts more when it comes from your own kind. You understand what this environment is already, what you have to go through on a day-to-day, and then to get more from you, come on, right? Show a little grace whether you like it or not. Right? Show a little grace, right?
I think it hurts worse when black people you expect them to know your struggle apart. You be like, hey, you go through what I go through. How would you add on to that? And then for some white people, they still know the struggle, but they don't internalize it. And for them, I'd be like, well, you see what y'all out here doing to us. You want to be a part of that? So there's a lot of similarities. I just think that at the end of the day, it hits the home.
Right. So are there similarities between civil rights and black gay rights? Because oftentimes when you say that to black folks, well, the gay rights struggle is very similar. No, don't compare that to that. And are there similarities?
Yes, it's exclusion. Period.
That's right. Exactly. You're trying to strip people of their liberties. And
So I don't know if I want to say that's equally.
Yeah, not necessarily equal, but
the fight should be the fight.
Right.
And the only reason they justify that it's different is because they associate religion with civil rights.
They attach religion to it, yeah.
Yeah, they attach it, but then not to the gay rights movement.
Oh, he's young blood.
She's like, I ain't just a pretty face.
That's right. Do you think white queer people choose their whiteness over their gayness for the sake of superiority?
Absolutely.
White privilege?
That's right. Do they still? Yeah.
It trumps
Most definitely.
everything.
Oh,
Yes.
And it's a little worse with a gay. You get a little sting to it.
I agree.
Yeah, it's a little sting to it.
You know, think about this too. Like, if you're white, how can you not?
According to the San Francisco AIDS Foundation, racism has been a problem in San Francisco's gay community, especially since the Castro became a gay neighborhood in the early 1970s. And the problem has not abated over time despite periodic efforts to curb it. Businesses in the community have been slow to respond to calls to reform, doing so only by being forced to by bad public relations or loss of revenue.
How can you step outside of it? I would say, I shouldn't say how can you. I would say it's harder to step outside of it if it's what you know.
They see that first.
They see that first. I always thought that it would be harder for them to do it because they are a part of a marginalized community, if you will, but I guess whiteness does.
But look at Caitlyn Jenner. I mean, I think she's a prime example. She's a staunch Republican.
Yeah. And a lot of trans women really didn't identify with Caitlyn because she still moved as a white man. Her ideas and all of that kind of stuff. Her politics still benefits
And being
from.
Kardashian doesn't help. I mean, does help a whole lot.
Right. Right.
I do think there's a big difference, like in the gay community, when I'm at a white club with white people, and then when I'm at a black-owned club and there's white people, they do act different. When they're in a place that they know belongs to one of them, they do be a little bit more loose. They feel a little bit more empowered things, not say things. But then in the black club, they'll love black people for the aesthetic. Like, I'm around black people, it's like a fetish. But they'll be a little bit more closeted, and they won't be as outspoken, they won't dance much. Like, I do notice the difference. Like,
I think that's the same. We go to straight clubs though too. Like, we don't be as open or as free that we would be as a straight club. I mean, but I have seen it. I do too, but I have seen it. And you know, if somebody is flamboyant, I said flamboyant guy. If they go to a straight club where they know it's a straight guys, that they're kind of toned down a little bit.
Like, I'm from Columbus, Ohio, so
I'm sorry.
you would never do that to them.
Oh, he from Ohio too. He ain't from Columbus though. But.
Like in Columbus, Ohio, like we can go to the straight club and just be because they like normally if somebody's living in Ohio, they're from there. Nobody's moving to Ohio. You know what I mean? They've known us since we were 5, 6, 7 years old. So they're like, oh, that's just me. Oh, that's just Brian. He just like they don't look at us as gay first. They know us.
That's the difference when you go into in Atlanta. You know what I mean?
Right, that's why I mentioned my hometown.
Yeah, like that's totally different. I don't think people that are more flamboyant going to a straight club are necessarily going to be like that.
Especially
because they don't know.
Down to go in straight clubs,
you know,
and I'd be
like that.
Wow, they turned you down for wearing a rainbow shirt or having bracelets on. I was like, wow.
Oh, really?
That would never happen back home. They'd be like, oh, you come in. You cool.
Yeah, I think it really was so.
I've seen people get denied at straight clubs.
Here in Atlanta?
Wow.
Yeah, I thought it would be a little bit.
When I'm with them, I'll be like,
oh,
like
no, not in
Atlanta.
Atlanta.
I seen platforms get banned.
They are straight. If you go, I mean, I think it depends on where you go. Like Craig said, like back in the day, I remember back in the day we had clubs that, you know, everybody went to or whatever.
Right.
But if you going to, what's the name of this club on Edgewood? Like certain clubs, it's just like certain clubs. You're not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with her. A black club in the hood, you ain't doing that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Maybe a black club in the hood, but I thought I would think that it would be a little easier where people of same sex would feel free to dance.
Not if you're. I don't think so. Not if you're flamboyant. Not if you're, or like you're quote unquote stud. You know what I mean? When you identify a certain way or look actually a certain way. Like if I go somewhere, it's okay. Like they don't know. So it's different.
A lot of black straight men are uncomfortable being around feminine and gay boys.
Yeah,
right.
Like,
Because they're insecure themselves.
I think that goes both ways.
Like, wow.
Some lesbians are a little bit like stand up from a very, very dominant stud-looking woman too, though.
Coming up next on Telling Our Stories.
They wanted to turn straight women out. I think that is a thing for women.
Yeah,
but hell, now the straight women going after the gay people so much. It's like, what is happening?
One of the best parts of life is when you can admit the truth to yourself about yourself. Cyberspace is a world where one can become something he isn't but everything he dares to be. I wasn't interested in getting attached to anyone, and I knew I wouldn't take anyone I met online seriously. I had multiple screen names to increase my chances of meeting someone attractive. The majority of the profiles noted HIV negative under status, but I knew better from the work I had done in the HIV community. I knew 1 out of 3 black gay men was positive. The messages I found in my inbox validated me in my depression. In some strange way, they reinforced that I was worthy and deserving. My days consisted of waking up and logging on to see how many messages had accrued overnight. Months passed before I got honest with my therapist about what was happening with me. And before I knew it, I heard myself say, I've been having sex with people I meet online. To listen to more of Words Never Spoken in Memoir, visit audible.com.
How come lesbians and gays can't party together like we used to?
I'm glad you brought that back because I wanted to circle back to that.
Also in the older category, probably can still do
Yeah, I
it.
think
don't
we
know
can
why
because we
they-
did it.
We definitely did it.
We did
Well,
it.
I'm gonna tell you this.
That was the best.
So when I first came here, I remember there was a conversation that used to happen at 8 Atlanta. They used to do like a conversation series called A Deeper Love. And I remember there were some gay guys on one side and there were some lesbians on the other side. And I'll never forget, the question was, why don't gay men and women party together? And I remember this lady said, well, I don't like being called bitch. And y'all use the word too freely. And then I've also heard instances where sometimes lesbians assert their masculinity, like if a gay boy dances with a girl and it might be somebody's girlfriend or whatever. And so sometimes the stud will kind of, buck, like, what you doing? That's my girl. Like, what do you think that is? Like,
Maybe that's a younger
differences. The South versus, the North or the Midwest. I think it's regional differences because, people, New York, D.C., they didn't experience that. They didn't have that.
Right.
So I think it's just those, like we have cultural differences. I think they're just regional
right.
differences.
Because I don't have like lesbian friends that I like go to eat with a lot. I mean, I know some. But and I want to know from the guys, like, do you have like lesbian friends that you talk to on a consistent basis, like you? Okay, yeah.
Well, because we literally call each other husband and wife.
Yeah.
We talk every day, all day. And as event promoters, as he brings the boys, I bring the girls, and we both have male and female friends that we bring together. I think it's more generational. I'm from Chicago, he's from Indiana, but we all collectively met up at the same clubs on the same nights.
Yes.
And just enjoyed. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it's generational. I agree with that.
I was just gonna say now it's the community is so large that you can feel a whole lesbian club with just lesbians. You can feel a gay club with just gay boys. So like,
but you could do that back in the day because we still and from Chicago, we still had girl bars and we still had but we knew how to collectively come together. And when I moved to Atlanta, that's when I noticed
the difference. So I'm not the only one that noticed the difference. Okay.
But I think it's deliberate though. It's not an accident.
It's definitely
the promoters that I know that are gay men versus the females, like back home, it's a lot more females. Here, they market to gay boys. Back home, we market it to the community.
Correct.
Here, they market to gay boys.
You said between Ohio and here, that's based upon numbers because y'all have a very smaller community.
Yes.
But here in Atlanta, a lot of us was like, we have a lot of gay boy friends. So it used to be said a long time ago, you always know you get a good girl if she had a gay boy friend with her. It was a whole different feel. And the thing is this, our gay boy friends would always bring around great women.
Right.
And same thing with women. If we had a gay boy friend that came around, he was probably a good piece or a good whatever you want to call him. And that's how we end up all getting together and partying together.
What you said, Cheryl, a good piece.
That's right. So keep it with that. Right. When Cheryl said,
I do have a whole lot of guy friends.
So when Cheryl said the guys would always bring like a woman around, do you think there's an intention either on the women's side or the male side, and this is for the straight people, where there's some movement to turn straight people out? Do you think gay men are actively trying to turn out straight men or women are trying to?
Wait. Sunshine, what do you guys say? Because you got a look over here.
Say it one more time.
He said,
What?
Do you think that there's some sort of a movement? Because you see all the time on social media where people say, well, what's with this whole feminizing black men? Do you think there's some movement where gay people, male or female, are trying to turn out straight people?
I think lesbians. There are some lesbians that really studs. Yes, that was their thing. That's what they wanted. They wanted straight women. They wanted to turn straight women out. I think that is a thing for women. But hell, now the straight women going after the gay people so much. It's like, what is happening?
Mm-hmm. And I think that goes back to what Tanae said. It's almost like trendy. Yes. Yeah.
I know a lot of straight men who find it's interesting to them to pursue a lesbian.
Yeah.
No. I'm talking about, are there gay men that are trying to turn out straight men, or gay women that are trying to turn out straight women?
There's a lot of gay, especially in the black gay culture, there's a lot of us who find like straight men to be more appealing than other gay men. Not me per se.
But do you think there's some sort of a movement to do that? I don't think there's a movement.
But I do think that there's always been a group of men who find the straight men
more desirable. Well, I think.
Claire said you want what you can't have.
Right, and I also think that oftentimes, and I can't speak for the women, but oftentimes with gay men, we oftentimes want a straight man and a gay man. You're turned off by the feminine qualities or whatever.
They don't go out.
But for me, I'm not really interested in straight men because y'all don't clean y'all ass well.
Oh my God.
If we're gonna keep it all the way 100. No, we're gonna put that in there.
I also think though there are a lot of gay men who go after straight men because they're not available, and it's more sexual than it is.
Yes, sir.
And a lot of them are still struggling with their own identity.
Absolutely.
When I look at that,
I think that's a crop. I don't think that's the community as a whole.
I think most women aren't trying to turn women out because the emotional connection is too overwhelming. Wants to have to deal with all those emotions because now this woman is like overwhelmed that she's doing something that she didn't think she correct. That's a lot.
When that first came out, it was like, I don't like girls, I like her.
I hear a lot of women say that. If this relationship didn't work, I won't be with another woman. I'm attracted to her.
I don't like when other girls would try to hit on me, I'd be like, I like her. I don't like girls. And they would look at me like I was crazy. They'd be like, what is she? I was like, that's different.
Do you think that was just a part of your journey to being a lesbian? Because I think a lot of times with gay men, they'll say, oh, I'm bisexual. No, you ain't bisexual. You gay. You just on the road to being gay.
But for men, it's different because you are men. It's more sexual type thing.
I think it is driven more by sex for men.
I agree with all this.
I want to go back to what you said. I just had that experience. My best friend is a lesbian, and she dated her wife had never dated a girl before. So they got married like 7 years ago. I was the best man. Just last summer, she told her that she wanted to get a divorce because she felt she wasn't living her life right. She knew in her heart she always wanted to be with me. And I was like, when they went on their first date, I was like,
no.
I don't know.
Exactly.
But I do think that that's something that happens more on the lady side. I think you all will date a woman that's never been with another woman before, but we often won't do that.
But we will question, do you think you're missing out on something?
That's what the ladies think?
Yeah, I'm like, you know what? You sure you want to do this?
And see, from our perspective,
I don't care.
But see, from our perspective, it's like, oh no, you need to go be a hoe and then come back. You need to sow your oats. I'm not about to be the first. Yeah. Listen, I'm that way if you just moved to Atlanta. Don't come to me in your first year. I can't do nothing for you. Right.
That happened to me here in Atlanta. I was being pursued by a straight woman, and I didn't know it. I mean, I wasn't picking up on any of the clues. I wasn't getting it. And yes. And so my best friend, who is straight, she was like, girl, She was like, I didn't even remember to call you to wish you, you know, a good first day on your new job.
And this girl did.
She was like, girl, she's and so,
Glad to have you with us.
you know, long story short, that ended up being the case. And like 6 months in, you know, ring, 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 she was like, I'm straight. And she just cut it off.
So y'all dated.
So y'all dated 6 months.
Oh.
For 6 months.
Wow.
6 months.
So she just wanted to take a dip in the lady pond. Right.
I was messed up behind it. But still to this, and I remember sharing that story with one of my friends, and I remember him saying, I've always thought that she was gay.
Is she straight still today?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And her mannerisms or anything start to change over time? Like, did you feel like she was gravitating more so to a heterosexual life versus a gay life? Did you witness that?
No.
No.
I mean, I just saw her as the person. You know what I'm saying?
But that's what I'm saying. If there was no growth, I would think
she
that.
woke up and was like, "What the hell am I doing?" You know?
Oh, got you.
What?
Okay. Yeah, I said, yeah, you
Yeah,
want me to change.
this is not what
can't be my life.
Yeah, this is not supposed to be my life.
Correct, my friends and family.
But that goes back to what Craig was saying about it being a smoother life. She could have made that decision because she felt like the gay life was going to be harder. And she was like, whoa, I can't do it.
That's a topic too.
That's
Talking about, Craig and I used to always say, this life is about it's an integrity builder.
Next time on Telling Our Stories.
I knew since I was a little boy that I was attracted to men. I didn't act on it until I was a grown man.
How old were you?
So my first experience was 22.
I was 22.
Yeah.
So it's safe to say you suppressed it.
You suppressed the act, but not some of the emotion.
I have a cousin, I've shared this story before. I believe she was born heterosexual, but then she was raped by a group of men. And for a period of her life, she started dating women. But then she went back to dating men because I think inherently, I think she was heterosexual.
I continue to find it a struggle and a challenge to come out to heterosexual friends.